Hello, everyone. Welcome to a presentation that I'm really excited to give today. Before I begin, I want to make sure that my sound is working. So I'm going to check with my counterpart at College Week Live. Maureen, could you just send me a little text if my sound is working okay? I think she's going to do that for me in just a minute. Right? And thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm really excited to talk with you all, and sounds like everything is working well. So, I'd like to first introduce myself. My name is Mary Ellen Brewick, and I have been at the University of Idaho for about 6 years. I got my bachelor's in political science at the University of South Dakota, which was in a small town. And then I got my master's in international education at the University of Minnesota, which was in a very large town in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've lived in Japan, China, Denmark, Scotland. I've gotten to travel quite extensively, and now I live in a very sweet little town called Moscow, Idaho. I'm going to go back a slide because I thought I was very clever the way that I titled my slide, which was LA, no way, why you should go to university in a small town. But I should tell you that I'm sure LA is a very, very nice city. My little brother lives there, and so I don't want to disparage LA or any other big city in the United States because there are definitely advantages to living in a big city and studying in a big city. But my opinion is that going to school in a small community is a really unique way to learn a little bit more about the United States. So let's first do a brief overview of the U.S. So you may be very familiar with some of our big cities, just like I know, of course, Shanghai and Beijing and Guangzhou in China. But do I know about all of the other cities or all of the other regions in China, for example, or all the small cities in India, all the small cities in Brazil? Of course not, because I've never I didn't grow up there. I grew up in the United States. So to get you familiar with the U.S., let me just tell you that we have, of course, the West Coast, and that, most people think California immediately, but the West Coast is comprised of lots of states, and then it also includes some beautiful mountains and lots of small communities, and of course some big cities as well. There's the South, which I personally have not spent a lot of time in, but has a very distinctive culture. There's the Midwest, where I went to school and I was raised, and that is, I would say, kind of similar to the West. And then you move over into the Northeast, and that is kind of our, in some ways, our more fast-paced part of the country. So, of course, there's a mix of people in all the different areas, and you're going to find people that you enjoy and people that drive you crazy no matter where you go to school. But that's a good overview of some of the regions in the United States. Now, the state of Idaho, which is highlighted here, is considered to be in the west, or we would say the northwest, because it's the northwest part of the United States. The University of Idaho is located right on the border between Idaho and the state of Washington. So I'm not sure if you can see my cursor here, but this is the state of Washington. Seattle, Washington is right around here. And so we're about an hour flight from Seattle. And then you can see right here, this is all Canada. A little geography test for you all. So before we go too much further, I want to talk a little bit about what a small town is, or what I mean when I say a small town. And probably it's a place that you've never heard of, but a small town could be, 100,000 people, which is quite a big community for the people that live there, although it's not the same as a city with 10 million people, of course. Small towns are often in more rural areas, and rural means there's more agriculture around the town, more farming, there's more wildlife, more wild area, and you're not going to have quite as many, city, where they're all connected really close by to one another. But a small town usually has everything that you would need. Of course, in Moscow, we have 7 or 10 grocery stores. We have a mall. We have clothing stores. We have a very cute downtown that would include, nice restaurants and children's clothing stores and shoe stores and lots of specialty things. We have a hospital. We, of course, have our university. There's several schools, elementary schools, junior highs, high schools. So really, it has everything that I would need on a daily basis. There's definitely a strong sense of community, and you're close to your neighbors, which I really love about living in a smaller town. And you would maybe hear the term that it's quaint, which really means that it's a cute town, it's charming, it's very clean. People take really, really good care of the whole town because there aren't really any neighborhoods that don't get attention. Everyone has a lot of pride in where they're living, where they're working, and in the whole community. So the University of Idaho is located in a small town, which is why I'm giving this presentation, because I do often hear from students that they really want to live in New York City or they really want to live in LA. And those are great places, but a lot of students go there. Not very many students are going to small towns in the U.S. So we are a four-year undergraduate public land-grant university. We have about 100 undergraduate majors and about 50 master's and PhD majors. We have about 12,000 students, and 950 of those are international students. So there's a lot of international students here from over 80 countries. Our largest populations are China, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Canada, India, which is pretty typical in the U.S. But because we only have 12,000 university students, we are able to have smaller class sizes. Our students get a lot of personal attention. We have an 18-to-1 student-faculty ratio, which is really great, and you'll see that a lot as you're looking at universities. And we've been around for 125 years, which is a pretty long time in the U.S. We're considered a high research activity university by the Carnegie Foundation. So the quality that you would get at the University of Idaho would be the same as any other public research university. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts on benefits of living in a small town, going to school in a small town. So the lower cost of living, transportation, safety, the people that you'll meet here, the opportunity to really experience an American community, the opportunities for recreation, and then the ability to focus on your academics. So cost of living is often lower in smaller communities than in very, very urban areas. So when I first moved here, I was able to get a one-bedroom apartment with my husband for about $525 a month. We lived there for 3 years. It was really nice. We had a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, a living room. It felt very private, and we loved it. We stayed for 3 years, which is a good indication of how we liked it. It was about a block and a half from downtown. I could walk to work. I could walk to the movie theater. I could walk to lots and lots of restaurants, and it was really, really great. There's also a free city bus that runs through Moscow, and so that piece of the transportation is really great, and it's free. Of course, biking, too, is really popular in town. Entertainment costs are low. There aren't opportunities to go to huge concerts that cost $100 a ticket. But when you want to do that, you can travel to the big cities like Seattle, which is an hour away. Lots of our students go take a vacation in LA, go take a vacation in Las Vegas, go take a vacation in Boston or New York City. And that's wonderful because you get to see those cities and you get to be a tourist there. And so really there's less temptation in your daily life to spend a lot of money, and your money isn't going to really expensive rent, really expensive car payments, really expensive food costs, and you can save that money to travel. The transportation cost, like I said, there's a free city bus. A lot of small communities offer free transportation with a bus or something in that way that would allow students to get from place to place, ride shares, things of that nature. There's really no need for our international students to have a car. In the town of Moscow, they're able to bike and walk everywhere they would need to get. bus runs out to the huge Walmart, to our shopping mall, so students can get to those areas as well. But then, of course, it's nice to meet people, and if someone does have a car, that's great because you can go on a road trip, which is a very American thing to do. And so you can get to a bigger city or get out into the wilderness even more. We have an airport that we share with the city of Pullman, Washington, which has Washington State University in it. So that's just about 10 kilometers away from Moscow, Idaho. And the airport flies directly to Seattle, flies directly to several other locations in the Pacific Northwest. So it's easy to get out of town and go on vacation if you want. And it's just really easy to get around town. I think it's healthy to walk and bike. You see people from your classes. You have time to think and stretch in between your classes. So it's really great. And yes, that is a picture of a person riding their bike in the snow, which we don't see very often, but does happen. We have 4 seasons in Moscow, Idaho. Which is great. And I think that we have really nice long summers, long falls, the trees change color, it's beautiful. Our winters are pretty mild. We do have snow, but it often melts. Right now there's no snow on the ground, and it's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so we're having a really mild winter. And then we have a spring where all the flowers pop up and it's a little bit rainier. And then our summers are real hot during the day and cool at night, which is just about perfect, in my opinion. So safety, I think that there is some truth to the fact that smaller towns are generally a little bit safer. There's fewer crimes and fewer random crimes, so you're not as likely to be caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, have something stolen. So that is definitely a consideration, especially if you are traveling with family and coming to study with family. There's a sense of safety among the community members because we watch out for one another. And if something happens, most of the time we all know that person. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of each other. Of course, you still need to use common sense wherever you go in the U.S. or around the world. You know, thinking about how you're choosing to spend your evenings, when you're going home, being in well-populated areas, and then, of course, making good choices about who you are spending your time with and who you're friends with. All right, so then I want to talk a little bit about the people that you'll meet in a small community. You know, in the town of Moscow, people love living here. They are choosing to live here. They want to raise their families here. They want to go to school here. It's just a great place to live day in and day out, to have an everyday existence. And because of that, there's a lot of interest in international students. So when you are shopping at the grocery store, you're going to get questions about, oh, where are you from? And why did you choose the University of Idaho? And what are you studying? And what are you going to do when you graduate? And having those kinds of impromptu conversations with regular American people is a really cool opportunity and probably something that a lot of students that choose to study abroad want to experience. So you will get a lot of opportunities to interact with locals. We have a friendship family program where we connect our international students with families in the community, and a lot of those families have kids and they want their kids to meet people from other countries and learn a few languages in Italian or Japanese or Korean or Russian. And so it's really fun to introduce kids to international students. And I have 2 daughters myself, and I know that with the student that we are connected with who is from Brazil, we've had so much fun having her for dinner and having conversations about her life in Brazil and what she loves about America, and she asks us lots of questions and we laugh, and it's a really nice connection to have instead of just being on a college campus. And this is a picture of one of our football games, and you can see that we have a lot of people that have come to this football game, and I think sometimes our international students think that a small town means that, you know, there are no streets or that it's really rural or there's no one that is educated or people don't know anything about the rest of the world, but that's not the case in most small communities in the U.S. So talking a little bit about the American experience that you'll get in a small town, you'll really be able to experience the holidays and celebrations because in a smaller town things do close down when it's a holiday, and so you have time to make plans with other people, celebrate, ask questions. Everyone relaxes around the holidays, and it's a chance to relax and have fun, and so you can be part of those holidays and those celebrations. It's really not a typical tourist experience. I talked about the opportunity to go travel before or after, while you're studying, and our students love to do that. Our American students love to do that as well. So you will definitely meet locals, and because there are fewer international students, we only have about 1,000, you're going to get to meet a lot more American students too. And I think that that is something that our international students are excited about. Yes, it's nice to have the safety of other students that are from Brazil or other students that are from India, but it's also great to meet American students that are in your major, learn from their experiences, talk with them about what you're going to do next, how you're going to get jobs, and that's really great. So you're going to get to see the wide variety of American people, their viewpoints, their opinions, their perspectives, and I think that's a really wonderful thing when you're studying overseas. Of course, you can always visit, live in a big city in the future. So even if you go to school in your undergrad or graduate school in a small community, it doesn't mean that you will necessarily have to live here forever. But probably when you come, you're going to love it so much that you will want to live here forever. These are some photos of some of the recreation activities that we do with our international students. In a smaller community, you often have access to outdoor opportunities. There's a lot of clean air, clean water, clean parks, and they're not crowded. So you can, on the weekends and in the evenings, you can go do fun things outdoors. You can hike, bike, do things on the water, fishing, lots of really cool things. And if you're not really into the outdoors and you don't want to go hiking, that's okay too. You may find that if you try something new that you really love it. And as long as you have the right pairs of shoes and the weather's really nice, it's kind of fun to go out, 15 miles outside of town and hike up a mountain and have a beautiful view of the area and do that for an afternoon. And it's not really a mountain, it's really more of a large hill. But really cool opportunities to do things like that. And of course, if you're not into the outdoors, there's certainly other things that you can do in your free time. So we have a really large student recreation center, and that's someplace that our American and our international students love to spend their time. Lots and lots of student clubs and organizations that you can take advantage of. Cruise the World is a cool opportunity for our international students to talk about their home countries, and all the community members come in and they bring their kids and they bring their parents, so there's grandparents there and kids, and it's just a great community event, and our international students love it because they get to talk about their home countries. And then you can be involved in our International Student Council and some of our international student groups, and that's a great way to be really active on campus with other students from your home country. The other great thing about living in a small town is that you have the energy to focus on your studies. And if you're coming to the U.S., you are here to be a student, right? And do well in your studies. And so, of course, you want to have fun. Of course, you want to meet people. But you also will be spending most of your days in class or studying, doing homework, preparing for tests, working on projects. And living in a small town makes it easy to do that because you have fewer distractions. Everything is close to everywhere else, so you don't have to spend an hour on a subway before you can get to your class from your home, and so you don't have that commuting time. You really have the opportunity to focus in on your studies and then go home and rest or go meet your friends for a quick dinner, and it's just easy to get around. So the other great thing is that at the University of Idaho and in our community, people are really helpful if you are struggling, if you don't understand something, if you're taking a class that's too difficult. You can go in and see someone. You don't have to only talk to them on the phone. You don't have to always make an appointment. you can just drop in and ask questions. You can stay after and talk with your faculty member and ask questions with your professor. And then with your classmates, they also are often willing to help tutor you or have you be part of their study group or work together on a group project so that you can get a really good grade. So I think that that's a really, really great part of living in a small town, being able to focus on your academics, and then that's just going to launch you into the next phase of your life, whether that's graduate school or your job. All right, awesome. So that's all I have. It's pretty short and simple and easy, but I really wanted to just get you all thinking about the benefits of going to university in a smaller community, even if it's a place you've never heard of. This is a picture of the University of Idaho. You can see the water tower with the big eye right there, and just how beautiful it is. And you can see some of the big buildings on campus, and this isn't really a picture of the town, but you can see that it's beautiful and there's a lot that's going on. So I'm going to take some questions. It looks like we have several questions, and let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the questions, and then I'll answer them, and if you have more questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. You just type them in, and then I'll read through them. So the first question is about scholarships. Do we have any scholarships for international students? And I'm really excited to say that we do. We have some great scholarships for international students. So at the undergraduate level, our tuition is about $20,000 a year, and we have scholarships for undergraduate F1 degree-seeking students, which is what most of our international undergraduate students are. We have scholarships up to $10,000 a year, and so that's about 50% of a scholarship, which is pretty awesome for a public university. And when I say that we're a public university, it means that we are the university of, and then our state name. So we were the first university in the state of Idaho. Like I said, we're 125 years old. And every state, all 50 states in the U.S. have at least one university like the University of Idaho. And we're funded with public tax dollars. So people in the state of Idaho pay taxes, and some of those taxes go towards education. And so we are, that's why for public schools you'll often see an in-state rate, which is the rate that students that have lived in the state of Idaho pay, and then you'll see an out-of-state rate. Now we have an out-of-state rate that is the same for a student if they're from New York or California, or if they're from China, India, Russia, Brazil. So our out-of-state rate is about $20,000 a year. I see there's another question about the total tuition of the college is about $20,000 a year, and we have scholarships up to 50% of that, which is $10,000 a year. Those scholarships are based on academic merit, so your grades and your GPA as it's calculated when you apply. Now, for those scholarships, we do start looking at students that have been accepted by February 15th. That's our priority deadline, which is coming up here in a few days. So if you are truly interested in the University of Idaho, I would recommend that you start your application because we start awarding those the last week of February for anyone who's applied by February 15th. All right, so we have another question about Masters of Science in Biomedical Engineering, and yes, we do have a really strong biomedical engineering. It's in it's in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and that is one of our really strong colleges within the university. So students will have a lot of opportunities to do research even at the undergraduate level, and the question was about Masters of Science. So yes, we do. And the criteria for admission, I don't know off the top of my head, and I'm not going to go to the website and pull it off, but if the individual asking that question wants to chat with me afterwards, I'll be happy to answer that in the chat area of the College Week Live. So chemical engineering, we also offer chemical engineering. We have a College of Engineering that has chemical engineering, computer science, material science, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and electrical engineering, kind of all the basics of engineering. So we do also have chemical engineering at the undergraduate and graduate level. Our acceptance rate, that's a really good question. So at the undergraduate level, our acceptance rate is much higher than at the graduate level. So I think that maybe the person asking that, Lara, if you want to let me know if you're thinking about the undergrad or the graduate level, that would be great. And there are opportunities to visit the University of Idaho in July. So we start our fall semester in about mid-August, late August, and you can always come visit in July. Now, if you are starting university in the fall, July is kind of late to come visit. You're certainly welcome to come, but you'd want to come the summer before you were starting your fall, so like a year ahead, or try and come a little bit sooner. And we do like private visits. So if students want to come on a random Tuesday, they can always come and visit us, and we'll set up a day of events. Like you can meet with a faculty member in your major, go visit the rec center, have a campus tour, have lunch on campus, meet with the international programs office, etc. Let's see. Okay. Just want to make sure that I'm getting through some of these questions. Let's see. So it looks like there's a student who wants to pursue a Master's of Science in Computer Science. And I'm not going to go into specific requirements for our graduate programs because at the undergraduate level, our admission requirements are a 2.5 GPA from high school and a 70 on the TOEFL, IBT. Now, at the graduate level, all the different programs have different requirements, but generally we require a 3.0 GPA, a 79 on the TOEFL, or a 6.5 on the IELTS, and some programs require a GRE, some programs do not. Let's see. And at the graduate level, we don't necessarily give scholarships, but what is available are graduate assistantships or teaching assistantships, and those would be offered at the time that a student was admitted. So for fall 2015, our graduate deadline was generally February 1st. So some programs may still be accepting applications, may still have money to give for teaching assistantships or research assistantships, but it really depends on that individual program. So civil engineering may be different than chemical engineering, may be different than Masters of Political Science, for example. Let's see. All right, keep the questions coming. I'm getting through these here. And looks like, okay, we're getting several scholarship questions. So we do have scholarships for our international students up to about $10,000 a year based on your academic grades. And there's another question about, is there an undergraduate degree in sports psychology? So that is a good question. I'm just going to go out here and find out. Bear with me. I'm going to double check our degree finder, which is a really cool program that we have to search for different degrees at the University of Idaho. Let's see. So we do have a bachelor's in psychology, but it's not specifically in sports psychology. And I'm just going to see here. We do have exercise science, athletic science, we have athletic training, so you can definitely take some classes in psychology and then some more of the sports field. Let's see. Okay, so then I have a question. A student from Romania would like to know about how long it will take to finish studies and information about prices. So maybe you could tell me a little bit more if you're interested in the graduate program or an undergraduate program. Our undergraduate program is generally 4 years, but it depends on what classes you take. If you're taking classes in the summer, which I would definitely recommend, because at the University of Idaho, our summer classes are actually a lot cheaper than our regular classes because you can take them at the in-state rate. And we do have students that take summer classes every summer, and then they are able to finish up in 3 years. But you should definitely plan on taking at least 4 years if you're starting right from high school to complete your bachelor's degree. If you're working on your master's degree, it's generally 2 years. Some students can get through faster, and it takes some students longer, depending on what they've done before. Our prices, our tuition is about $20,000 a year, and then it's another $13,000 for living costs. So the total average cost of attendance is about $33,000 a year, and that's what you would need to show proof of having to get your I-20. So through scholarships, grants, personal funding, loans, things of that nature, that would have to add up to about $33,000. All right, and then, oh, great. Okay, so another question from a student who lives in Chile, and the school year finishes in December, right? So can they start in January or February? Yes, absolutely. We have students start in our spring semester, is what we call it. The University of Idaho is on a semester schedule, so our fall semester is August through December, and our spring semester is January through May. So we do have a lot of students from the Southern Hemisphere that come and start in January. And that deadline is going to be around October 1st. So you can certainly apply now for next January, or you can wait until around the summer. Then you can start. And I guess that makes sense then, Laura, I think you were the one that had a question about coming to visit in July. So then you could definitely come visit campus in July and then come back and start your studies in January. We would love to set up a campus visit for you. All right, and let's see. Then there's a question from Luca. Let's see. Oh, cool. Okay, you want to become a basketball coach, so that's why you are interested in sports psychology. So that's a really, really cool thing. That's great. So if you're interested in becoming a basketball coach, now I'm not a basketball coach. I don't know the best path to get there, but I would think that being in sports psychology would be really great, but also your experiences are going to be really important. So wherever you go to school, I would definitely recommend that you take psychology courses, that you take some business courses so that you understand like the business world and the business of athletics. I'd recommend that you volunteer as a coach for the elementary school, which is another great way to get connected to the community and something you can definitely do in a smaller town. You can play basketball on an intramural or club sports team with other college students, and you can offer to coach them too. So having a lot of experiences coaching and playing yourself, even if it's not at a varsity level, is going to be really important. And then, I think that if you surveyed all the basketball coaches that are currently in the NBA, they would all have different majors from there. My boss just came in as I'm chatting with you all. I'm doing a webinar presentation. Are you on that? Yes. I'm talking. I'm being videotaped. You want to see what I look like? Let's see. It's fun to get connected. I wonder if it'll show me live. Oh, well, I'll send you the video afterwards and you can see these popped in. So now I'm answering questions. I'll come in and talk to you in a few minutes. Okay. Great. Okay, so being a basketball coach, you should definitely go for it. I think that's really cool. You can probably take a lot of different undergraduate courses. So don't limit yourself just in sports psychology. Definitely follow your passion, and your experiences are going to set you up for a really great opportunity to coach. All right, so that was a really long answer. Let's see. Then question from Laura about how many mandatory courses do you have to take during your first undergraduate year? And that's another great question. So in the USA, a lot of our universities have what we consider general core requirements. General requirements, you'll see general education, gen ed, and those are classes that if you are a engineering major, you may also need to take English classes and history class. And the idea is that you get a well-rounded education so that you're not only getting an education in psychology, or you're not only getting an education in engineering. You're really getting a good overview, and that would be considered a liberal arts education. So to answer your question, you do have some required courses that you need to take in the first year, and in the first year or two, both for your major and just for the University of Idaho. And I would say maybe the first year you're taking half courses in your major and half courses in other areas. So that might be 2 courses in your major, 2 courses that are just general education requirements. Maybe for the first year, maybe the first 3 semesters. Cool. Okay, these are really great questions. Thank you so much, everybody. I think that I've answered everything so far. So I think that we might be done. I don't want to make this too long because we are going to save it, and then you'll have the opportunity to come online and chat with me on College Week Live. I'm really happy to answer any specific questions that you have, so don't hesitate to ask any questions over on the live chat area. I will be there in a few minutes. So thank you so much for joining me today, and really hope that you consider the University of Idaho for your American university experience. Thanks so much. Have a great day.